with the presentation of the policy, course policy.
Okay.
In this way, Juan maybe is able to finish, and then we can proceed with the rest. Yeah.
Okay. Let me start with screen sharing. So make sure you can see me. That's more important. So you can see my screen, right? So I'm in here. There's going to be Giuseppe will explain a little later about this part, but I will just open the lecture of today. There's a lecture 28048. So you can open any, if you're in a Linux environment, you can open the PDF using the events command. So this is basically what we're going to talk about today. I think that's going to be full screen. All right. So I'll start with a little bit about the course structure. As already, we already talked about in the beginning, you already have a flavor. We're going to work through this access. And in the Linux environment, you already, most of you already have the OSGeo Live set up. So this is the environment we're working in. Giuseppe will go through a number of geo tools. I just made a short list here. Basically, that's considered part of a computational component of the course. Of course, we also want to cover modeling. Mostly two parts with the geomathematics and geostatistics. And in between, we emphasize geocoding. Primarily, we will use a Python language that will connect the computation and the modeling part together. So that's basically how the course looks like at a high level. Regarding to the homework, Giuseppe and I will plan and design some homeworks. Probably not in the beginning, but as we move further down in the course, we'll have more substantial materials. We also will prepare homework solutions, and we'll deliver normally 1 week after the homework was issued. And it's up to you to decide, how far you can go into homework. You want to complete by yourself on your own. That's always good, because the homework purpose is trying to give you a second chance to look at the material we went through in the class, and you can take advantage of it to refresh your memory and get hands-on some real geo problems through this homework. But if you are busy, you have some other schedules and you didn't get done in time, that's totally fine. It's totally up to you. Will not grade the homework or product comments unless there's a potential request or some strong need from you that we receive. We can come back and highlight a few points that are quite important. Either be challenging or very useful. So that's about homework. But we're going to have a course project. And this part is required. It's required for everyone because we are taking a course. We'll finally evaluate the performance of the attendees. It's going to be pass or fail situation. So the course project will contain two formats. Actually, two parts. One is a written report. The other one is oral defense. The written report is pretty much a Jupyter notebook. We'll get into it very soon. And that covers the materials you have go through with the project. And we also would like to have the associated PDF that once you generate a Jupyter notebook, it's very easy to produce PDF. And when you have a PDF at hand, it's easy to grade or comment. You can compare both. So that's about written report. The oral defense is going to be your ability to present the material you have been through, and we'll do that together. The current idea is about 30 minutes, roughly, everyone, 20-minute presentation, 10 minutes question and answer. So the basic content for the project should include the description of the project, its significance, its meaning, why do you want to carry on this project? And that should also include the data acquisition. where you download data. It could be some data you already have in your project, or you acquire some new data from the open source space. There's some data operation, manipulation, explorations, or served purpose to understand the distribution data. There's some missing data, or there's some extreme value of data. You want to do some treatment. Of course, the core part will be the model construction, evaluation, selection, and final interpretation of the models. And that ties to the project and the goal of you building the project. And lastly, we want to have a final delivery. Normally, it's just a map, but may vary depending on the project how you want to construct it. The grading part for the written report will be done by instructors, meaning Giuseppe and me. It will constitute 60% of the overall grade. And the oral defense is about 40%, will be graded by us together, including the instructors and your peers. So on the final 1 day, probably 2 days, we'll allocate time to go through everybody's project and presentations. And each of you will receive a grading sheet. You can put marks on the grading sheet. By the time it's finished, you'll hand in the grading sheet. Then we'll summarize the grade and determine the final result of your course. I hope this is clear to everyone. There are some subtle points regarding the project. I think we open for discussions, and I also haven't reached a conclusion with Giuseppe yet, which is the very beginning stage of the course. So one thing is about whether you want to do an independent project by yourself, or you want to work with others. I think, in my opinion, collaboration is always good because that expands your horizon, and your understanding. But we also realize we are having a very diverse group. People have different background, maybe have different interest on the particular project. Especially in this special period of time with the COVID, I'm not sure the communication is easy or not. So I just leave it up there. We can decide together. But the key thing is, if we decided to go with collaboration, so that means we have to have a mechanism to have a fair grade for everyone. Because, for example, for individual project, we decide 30 minutes. Now, if 2 people join hands, that means the final product should be richer and bigger. So I was thinking maybe you have to generate a longer project or something, but it's open for discussion. We can talk about it together later. And also, for the grading, is there any particular grading criteria you need to look at it? Because you are all PhD students in different stage of your career. You probably more or less have a sense about the presentation, how to perform professional presentations. You probably have done project reports. So we take it as default. But if you think it's necessary or helpful to get more detailed criteria, we can brainstorm together and talk about this. And Giuseppe and I can provide the input from our perspectives, and you can also join the conversation. Of course, if you have some other suggestions or ideas to build this course together and better, that's certainly welcome. So the overarching goal of the course is basically to enhance your capacity to the best of interest. So it's totally for you. In order to do that, we have to build this course together. Your input is valuable. So let's join hands and think together to make this course more suited to your best interest. And we need your input. And that input can be provided through the Slack channel. Giuseppe and I are constantly watching the Slack channel. We'll be happy to provide feedback whenever at our most immediate conveniences, especially with our different time zones. I think Slack channel is a very good mechanism for us to communicate. Of course, under certain circumstances, if you would like to hold additional meetings with us to discuss a particular problem or some interest aspect, we are happy to do so. Based on the agreement between us and the university, we are not required to hold any specific time slots for the course, but we are happy, under time allowance to talk with you independently, but that has to be by appointment. So I think that's basically the whole part about the course policy. I will just pause for a second in case there are questions coming from you when we need clarify, or you want to have a discussion or something from here. Yeah, I'll just pause a second in case somebody have a question. Okay, I see some comments in the chat box, but I don't see questions. Yes, the presentation will be available. I will show you just in a minute how to get it. If there's no further questions, I'll proceed into the next stage.